Alright, so the Black Friday sales are about to kick off. 50% discount for all of the uniforms in the game, and because of that, I had quite a few people reach out to me asking which uniforms they should pick up this year. So I wanted to actually give you guys my list of about 30 different uniforms that you should consider for Black Friday. Now, if you already have these uniforms, I'm going to tell you this because I've seen a couple people asking me on Discord today about optional uniforms. Optional uniforms is a rich man's game, okay? That is a rich man's game. If you have all of the uniforms that I'm gonna recommend today, you can buy other uniforms for fun, but otherwise I think you should be investing your crystals into stuff like cards, getting more pierce on your cards, getting more attack on your cards, acquiring more CTPs so you can start equipping them or reforging them so you can get better scores in ABX, clear GBR, or clear higher stages in World Boss Legend, whatever makes the game more fun for you. However, if spending almost 1,000 crystals to get an additional 500 to 600 attack stats is worth it to you, go ahead. But in my opinion, that's a rich man's game, okay? If you're at the point where you can spend on optional uniforms, you should be rocking damn near 25% pierce and over 120% all attack. So you're not gonna see me make a list of optional uniforms. I'm gonna just give you the uniforms that you need to play the game at the highest level, and then after that, you can buy stuff to have fun with. That being said, let's get into it because we got 400 uniforms in the game right now. As you can see, I have 399 of them and they're all at Mythic. The only one I don't have is the Captain Marvel uniform that you had to drop a bag on when it first came out a couple years ago, and back then I was free to play, and this thing will never return. So it's the one uniform that you're going to notice a lot of people don't have. But I have all the other ones, they're all at Mythic, so I have a good understanding of where they place. So let's dive into it. Now, let me start off by saying this, okay? This is the bare necessities. These are the 30 uniforms from the 400 currently in the game that I personally think you should consider for Black Friday 2022. Anything else is just extra. You're buying it for fun, not really because you absolutely need it, okay? Now, if your favorite character is not on this list, do not take personal offense to this. This list was crafted based on the uniforms that I use daily, weekly, or on a monthly basis based on the ban list for timeline battle. And if you notice, the categories that I separated these characters into is based on specific game modes versus their power level. So you could move around this tier list however you see fit, okay? Basically, look at the game mode that you enjoy the most and then choose to buy the uniforms that fall in those specific categories. So with that being said, let's jump into it, okay? First and foremost, we got Super Giant. Super Giant is still very much so relevant for Alliance battle because she's a universal alien female, okay? You still need one of those that's really powerful. So if you don't care about ABX, it's an easy skip to pass up Super Giant. But you might find some value there because she can also be used in ABL. You don't want to skip over those two pieces of content because it's a good way to farm awakening materials, and unless you were playing squad battle before, you still have a lot of catching up to do. Moving on, we got Hulk. Okay, Hulk is a menace for timeline battle. Say what you want, they nerfed him. Yeah, he's not as good as he was before for PvE, but for PvP, he's still a goddamn demon, so we have to put him here, okay? Next up, we have Iron Man. Iron Man is very much so relevant for all things Alliance battle, ABX and ABL, and if you want to, you could pick up his superior Iron Man uniform, which transforms him into a villain and gives you even more value out of Iron Man. But I'm gonna put the best version of Iron Man on the list, and if you want to pick up the next best version of him as well, you can go ahead and do that. Superior Iron Man is not a bad place to go, but it's only a matter of time before we get a blast supervillain. Fingers crossed we get Magneto. Anyways, moving on. Next up, we have Thor, the god of thunder, also relevant, but more specifically for ABL. Okay, you don't really use Thor in ABX. Thor can go in World Boss Legend, Giant Boss Raid, and ABL, but I'm just putting him where he's absolutely necessary because you can use other characters in World Boss, not on the specific stages that you can use Thor on, but most of you guys are not on stage 60, stage 70 in World Boss Legend, and frankly a lot of you guys don't care. Versus in Alliance Battle, for Alliance Battle Legend specifically, there's certain days or a certain day, Universal Alien, only Thor can do it, so you need Thor's uniform. Moving on. Next up, we have Moon Knight. Moon Knight is very useful for ABX and ABL, so I'm going to put him just above Thor here, just because of the fact that he is good for ABX and ABL, as opposed to Thor, who you're only using in ABL. Same goes for Venom. Venom could easily go here in World Boss, Giant Boss Raid, but if you don't have Moon Knight, or if you're not very skilled at using Moon Knight, or if you don't want to give Moon Knight a CTP of Rage because the Rage makes him stronger for ABL but weaker for World Boss, then you could invest in Venom because Venom is just good all around with a CTP of Rage, okay? So we're going to put Venom in here. You could put him behind Thor. It's up to you. But I'm going to absolutely put Venom on this list. Next up, we have Carnage. And Carnage would have been in the Alliance Battle category before, but Namor now exists. So we have to put him down here in Timeline Battle meta. Say what you want about Carnage, but no one can tell me that this guy is not a big part of PvP right now. However, tier 4 is needed and his artifact, more specifically, is needed. Okay? He's definitely, I would say, the only character on here that absolutely needs to have his artifact. Otherwise, you probably don't need him, okay? So invest wisely. If you're gonna buy the uniform, you need to get his artifact, and that's when you're gonna get true value out of him because he's an absolute demon in Timeline Battle. Next up, we have Black Widow. Black Widow is currently the only speed tier 4 in the game, and because of that, she is very, very, very important for Alliance Battle because there's multiple days, literally every single week, when you're gonna use her in ABX and ABL. She's arguably the most important Alliance Battle character in the game right now. So although this isn't necessarily the strongest uniform here, she is the most useful one because there's so many different speed days, right? It's just speed hero day, speed female day, you know, it's just speed human day. It's just too much, man. We need another speed character. Hopefully we get Luna Snow soon. Next up, we have Kamala Khan, and Kamala Khan is the budget Avenger. You know, we're gonna say if you don't want a tier 4 Black Widow in hopes that she gets replaced soon, then you could invest in Kamala Khan. She's really, really good for World Boss. She's pretty decent for Giant Boss Raid, and she has some of the tools that you need for Alliance Battle, but she's not really meta if you have Black Widow. If you don't have Black Widow tier 4, Kamala Khan is the next best option. So we're going to throw Kamala Khan right here in the World Boss Legend / Giant Boss Raid category, just under Widow, because she's arguably the strongest tier 3 character in the game that doesn't have level 80. If level 80 is in the mix, then we know it goes to Captain America, who's here as an option for you as well. Captain America, we're going to put right here just behind Kamala Khan, only because he needs level 80 to actually surpass her in DPS, okay? Next up, we have Emma Frost, and I'm gonna put Emma Frost in Timeline Battle for good reason, okay? Timeline Battle is currently overrun with Hulk and Carnages. She's a blast character, she's a type advantage, she has really, really good damage, reflect, iframe ignore, her artifact is just really nasty. She's a good counter to these boys, so we absolutely have to put her here. Say what you want. If you don't already own Emma Frost, she's a handful, okay? She is a big investment, costs a lot of crystals, so maybe you don't want to invest in her in hopes that we get a cheap blast tier 4 at some point in the future. But if you already owned Emma Frost, the uniform for her is a good investment, especially if you pick up the artifact. The artifact isn't as necessary as with Carnage, but it definitely adds a lot to the character. Next up is Loki, and Loki is still very much so relevant because he is a universal supervillain alien, and unfortunately Black Bolt cannot kick him out of that spot because Black Bolt is not an alien, okay? So Loki still has a spot in ABL, but buyer beware, because when Loki season 2 drops in 2023, this uniform will be replaced. However, that isn't scheduled to happen until mid 2023, so maybe July, August, September, who knows. However, Loki still has value right now for Alliance Battle. You can pick up the TVA version or the President version, whichever one you want, okay? Next up, we have Spider-Man, and Spider-Man has definitely lost some value in PvP just because of these two titans. Tier 4 combat characters have really pushed him out. Emma Frost is hanging in there by a thread, so is Adam Warlock. Spider-Man, you barely see him these days, but he still has some value, so I wanted to put him here just in case you guys wanted to consider buying this uniform for him. I would say it's still a good investment. It's just not as good as it was before Hulk and Carnage took over. Still pretty good, but not nearly as good as it was before. Next up, we have Scarlet Witch, and Scarlet Witch owns Saturdays, okay? Universal Superhero Day for Alliance Battle, and she can also be used in Alliance Battle Legend, so I absolutely have to put her on this list, okay? You could use Thena, but Scarlet Witch scores more points, so we're going with Scarlet Witch, okay? Scarlet Witch is right behind these tier 4 characters. Next up is Titania, and Titania and She-Hulk are currently the best combat female characters in the game. You want to rock a team that looks like this: Titania, Valkyrie, She-Hulk. These three together will give you close to 11 million points, maybe more, maybe less if you have 20 Odin's Blessings with a CTP of Rage and you're doing a tag play with them. However, most people are going to use Valkyrie as a support character, and rightfully so. She's one of the best supports in the game. You absolutely need this uniform. It's amazing for all forms of content. You even see it occasionally in PvP, and if you're not careful, she can kill a couple of your characters. Next up is Namor, and Namor controls Combat Supervillain Day for ABX and ABL. Obviously, he's good for World Boss and Giant Boss Raid, but I'm gonna put him where he's absolutely needed. So we're gonna put him right around here because he's needed for ABX and ABL, 12 million points, and I believe you can get close to 10 million points with him in ABL. So 12 million points in ABX and 10 million points in ABL is quite a big deal. Namor with a mighty / brilliant rage combination is quite good. Next up, we have a meta support or a timeline battle meta. You guys decide where you think she is best suited, but I use her in 2 different game modes on a regular basis, so she absolutely has to be here. Hela, the Queen of Hell. She's used with Loki in ABX, and she's also used in timeline battle whenever Adam Warlock is on a rampage and I need someone to cut his damage substantially. So definitely have to put Hela here. By the way, let's just go ahead and toss Adam Warlock maybe right at the top of this list. However, there's a caveat. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I need you all to keep in mind that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 will be released May 5th, 2023. This is confirmed as of right now, and Adam Warlock will be a part of the cast, which means Adam Warlock is more than likely going to be getting a new uniform. So as you can see, Will is going to be playing Adam Warlock, which means this uniform has a expiry date to some degree. You never know, maybe the new uniform he gets makes him better for PvE content like World Boss and Giant Boss Raid, because he doesn't really do well there. He doesn't do well in ABX, he doesn't do well in World Boss, he doesn't do well in Giant Boss Raid, and that's even if you have the best possible builds for him. However, what he does do very well is be a creature of your nightmares when it comes to timeline battle. So you could pick this uniform up and get 6 months of value out of it, or you could not and have him torture you in timeline battle. So keep that in mind. Next up, we got Colossus, obviously a PvP support, most oftenly used in timeline battle, so I'll just go ahead and just throw him right there as a part of the timeline meta. Next up, we have Ebony Maw. Ebony Maw we're definitely going to throw into the meta support category just because I use him so often. I use him for World Boss and I also use him for timeline battle. He's split between the two, so we're just going to put him in the meta support category. Next up, we have Green Goblin. Green Goblin is Alliance Battle meta, but he's also a meta support. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw him in the Alliance Battle meta section, maybe below She-Hulk since he's tier 2 still, unfortunately. Next up, we're going to go ahead and just throw Sif right in the meta support category, Wave also in the meta support category, Cyclops in the meta support category, Shuri in the meta support category, because these characters, you need them all for ABX, and there's also some value in using them for Giant Boss Raid and obviously World Boss Legend. Same goes for Proxima Midnight and Taskmaster. In terms of DPS, I would say Proxima is probably right around here with these guys, and then the rest, you can shake it up however you want. Shuri probably has the highest DPS out of all of them. And then obviously we have the big guy Thanos. Say what you want about him, but Thanos is somewhere around here. Maybe right behind Emma Frost, just because she's an easy counter for him. But I find that he does really well countering Adam Warlock. I just move around and evade Hulk, and I'll be able to easily counter Hulk as well. Carnage can be a bit toxic, but we're just gonna put him right here, maybe as the 5th strongest character in Timeline Battle currently. You can shake this up however you see fit. Again, do not take personal offense if your favorite character or your favorite uniform or one that you use on a daily basis isn't on here. This is just coming from the perspective of someone who has all 399 uniforms in the game, and these are the ones that I find myself going back to on a daily or weekly basis.